Welcome to Lessons in Attachment. If you are new here, then it is amazing that you found here. Sorry about what it might mean that you're going through, but I'm glad that you found me. And if you have been here before, then welcome back. And I do not take it for granted that you choose to listen to this podcast. One of the most frustrating, painful things that you can go through when, in fact, I don't know if that's true, there's many actually. I'm just thinking of when you're actually experiencing a breakup or rejection and things like that. So I'll pause with that and just say one of the painful things that you might experience when you're on your journey of healing, managing, and understanding attachment and abandonment wounds is when you see yourself fall back into an old pattern. Whatever it is, it will feel like you've taken 10 steps back. It will feel like, I knew this already. I should have known better. How am I back here? I do think there's this element as well where perhaps it's fair to say when you've been doing the work for a while and you see this happening, there's something about that that's just like, my God, I just need to turn back time. I cannot be back here. So if anyone's there, I get you. I feel you. Actually, one of my greatest as in best and biggest wake up calls was feeling like I'd taken 10 steps back. But in reality, so when we think of people changing, it's very well known, documented, researched that part of the cycle of change, part of the process of long-term change, and in this case we're thinking about moving towards becoming secure, we know that people tend to fall back into old behaviors from time to time, for short periods of time or long periods of time. So it's just known that on your journey of healing and overcoming something, there are going to be times where you slip, you trip, and you fall. You can still feel the pain. You can still feel the disappointment. So please don't think I'm trying to get rid of that. I just want to give you some sense of hope that this is not it. This doesn't mean that you're stuck here forever. It doesn't mean that there is no future where this pattern doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that there's never going to be the right relationship for you or that you can't repair this situation. Please be mindful with that information. If this is an ending of something and you're forcefully trying to make that not the case or overthink it to get someone back and things like that, I know that sometimes that step back can be that a relationship has ended or whatever it might be. Either way, it's a really natural part of this process to trip, to fall. I don't really like the term taking steps back, but I've never found a nice quote. I'm sure there is one out there. So if you do have it, please send it to me. That kind of represents the fact that we're actually moving forward. I'm sure there's a nice image or something of this that represents that those steps back are actually a step in the right direction. It's the rejection is redirection, that kind of thing. You won't be able to see it in the moment when you've tripped and fallen and feels like you've gone back. You won't be able to see that. You'll be like, this is the worst thing in the world. But, if you look at my situation where I'm now in the relationship that I want to be in, I wouldn't have been there without those trips and falls. Is that nice? Is that a nice thing to say? But yeah, it's true, right? So rejection is redirection, things not working out the way you wanted it. And we've even we can think of things like this. I'm sure you've got other experience, if not relationships with work or a house not working out, or I don't know, something even smaller than that, where you're glad that something didn't work out. You're actually, in hindsight, you can see that it was a good thing. And you might not be ready to hear this yet, but you are listening to this podcast, so perhaps you are. I just want to give you that moment of hope that I absolutely know that feeling. I've been so gutted, so disappointed, and wished I could turn back time. Couldn't. Overthinking didn't work. The only thing that worked was getting back up and going again. And I really believe that if you get back up and you go again when the time is right, I don't want to be the toxic positivity person. So when the time is right, that you get up and you go again. You might have to edit a few things and change a few things and review and say, okay, what quite didn't work out there? What do I need to do different? But when you have had that conversation with yourself and you're starting to lift, because that's what happens, we get angry, we get depressed, we get frustrated, annoyed at ourselves, and then you will start to lift. The lifting is going to be when you're like, maybe something good is going to come from this. But when you choose, I'm going to go again, you're then going to be catapulted 12 steps forward. And then I think at some point you will start to see, okay, that did need to happen. Not with 100% everything. You don't need to give me the examples of where that's not the case, because I understand how life is. But I just want to explain typically how we see change and the cycle of change and things like that. So please don't beat yourself up. That will not be helping. Even if you're really upset, disappointed, can't understand that you didn't see that red flag, or how did you not see this coming? How are you where you are? What is not going to help is beating yourself up. And in fact, I have a video or a podcast that you can listen. I'll link it in the description. I will link the podcast that you can listen to that will help this idea that beating yourself up here is only going to be making this worse. That's going to send you 11 steps back. So being kind to yourself, that's how you're going to start moving forward. I really believe that anyway, because with moving towards secure, we have to be compassionate towards ourselves. That is 100%. So this is a really good place to practice that. So I'm sorry you're feeling this way. I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. If you can dig really deep and find the wisdom to know that this is going to lead you somewhere else, down a path that's meant for you, then dig there and get it. If this is more of a case of you need to repair with your partner, whatever it might be, then don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to apologize. Don't be afraid to let them apologize, whatever it might be. That's just a guessing game for me. But I hope that's been useful. If you're not part of the attachment recovery gym, or you don't know about becoming secure, then I definitely recommend you looking at the different ways that you can work with me. Whichever container you're thinking of, I'm here helping people to move towards insecure to secure, taking into account your happiness and your well-being. I want to take a moment and let you know a bit more about the attachment recovery gym, because so many of you are going to benefit from this space. The Attachment Recovery Gym is an online membership that supports you to get in touch with and exercise your most secure self. You can join this community when you have reached the point where you know so much of the information, yet being able to change and put that into practice is really difficult. You see yourself defaulting back to old, painful patterns. It's an online membership space where you can take everything that you've been learning, that includes all of the things that I'm talking about in this video and my other videos and on my Instagram. You can take all of that and you can put it into practice. If you have a reoccurring relationship issue or a specific trigger where you feel stuck, then fear not. The Attachment Recovery Gym marries 3 core components that are going to support you to be able to change and self-soothe in the moment. That is community, accountability, and education. When you become a member of the Attachment Recovery Gym today, you get immediate access to a library of resources and a schedule of classes that strengthen your secure self, just like you were working on your physical health, because that's something that I believe is really important.